Welcome to the Aligned Ambition podcast. I'm your host, Pooja Venkatraman. I'm a double Harvard grad, former BCG consultant, and now an executive coach for high achievers. On this podcast, we are going to tackle the 4 key things that you need to figure out in order to live a life of aligned ambition. Those 4 things are stress, productivity, performance, and purpose. We are going to make sure that you're driving your car in the direction that you actually want to go. That is the purpose part. We're also going to make sure that your progress along the road is consistent and effective. That's the productivity and performance part. And we're going to make sure that the fuel you're pouring into your tank isn't so noxious that it's filling your car with fumes and making the whole ride miserable. That is the stress part. Because if you can tackle those 4 things, stress, productivity, performance, and purpose, you can build the life and the career that you actually want. Not the life you think you're supposed to have, not the life that burns you out or doesn't fit quite right, but the life you actually want. One that fulfills your biggest ambitions and unleashes your fullest potential without sacrificing your sanity, your relationships, your authenticity, or your paycheck. A life that feels as good on the inside as it looks on the outside. That's what aligned ambition is all about. Let's get started. Hey guys, I am so excited for this week's podcast topic, which is 5 reasons why high achievers end up in misaligned careers and lives. So let me tell you what misalignment is. I'm going to describe what it feels like, how it shows up for people. And if you are feeling misaligned or if you've ever felt misaligned, you are going to be able to recognize yourself very, very quickly in this description. Misalignment is that sense of friction. Daily, weekly, regular friction between the life that you have and the life that you actually want, right? And it can be a low grade, kind of like irritating, annoying friction. It can be a high grade, very painful friction. But what happens is you feel dissatisfied, you feel unfulfilled, you might feel restless, you might feel hollow. It feels like there's a lack of meaning, a lack of purpose. Your brain might be like, is this it? Why are we doing this again? You might feel stressed, you might feel anxious. Ultimately, something feels off and you cannot ignore it. You can't ignore the fact that there is some kind of gap between the life and the career you're living and the life and the career you actually want. And what that can look like ultimately is as you feel this daily friction kind of rubbing against you every single day, you also get things like Sunday scaries, right? The night before Monday, you're like, oh, do I have to go back to work? I really don't want to, right? And your whole Sunday evening is ruined. You have this feeling of, let's just get through this week. Let's just get through this month. Let's just get through this quarter. We're just going to turn the corner and then it's going to be okay, but it's never quite okay, right? You're always just getting through. And at the end of a vacation or at the end of some time off, the thought as you're like driving to the airport, like to go back, right? Or you're like heading back home, heading back to your normal life, you just have this feeling of dread and you're like, oh my God, I have to go back, right? And if you stay in this feeling of misalignment and friction for long enough, ultimately it turns into burnout. Right. So that's one part of being misaligned is you feel this constant sense of like friction, something's off, this isn't quite what I want, and like something's just not quite working, right? Even if you can't name what it is or why it is or what you should do about it, you'll feel that feeling, right? You should know exactly what I'm talking about if you're feeling this right now or if you've ever felt it. So that's one half of misalignment. But what I find for people is that there's also a second half that's going on, and it's basically this tug of war, right? So on the one side, you feel the friction and like something feels off. On the other side, you will feel, why do I even feel this way? What's wrong with me? People would kill for this job. People would kill for this life. Everything is so good on paper. Why am I complaining about it? Why is this not enough? Why am I so ungrateful? Why am I so privileged? Or you might think, everyone else is fine. Like everyone else around me in this situation is feeling great. They're feeling fulfilled. They're feeling satisfied. They're feeling happy. What's my problem? What's wrong with me that I can't seem to extract the joy from this, right? Or you might think, I have responsibilities. Like I'm an adult. I have things I need to do. I have like responsibilities I need to maintain. Grow up. What is this like frivolous misalignment? Oh, I'm a little unhappy. Oh, I'm a little fulfilled. Come on. I don't have time for this. I got to keep my life on the rails, right? I got to keep the wheels on the bus. So there's this tug of war on the other side, right? One part of you that's like, something's off. Something is not working. I can feel that friction grinding into me every single day. And then there's another side of you that's like, shut up. What are you talking about? You're fine. Your life is fine. Everyone is fine. You have other things you need to focus on. Stop feeling this way, right? This feeling is invalid. That really, to me, is the heart of that misalignment. Is like you feel that friction and dissatisfaction. And another part of you is like, no, you shouldn't feel that way. Stop that, right? But that second half of you, that second part of the tug of war, doesn't actually resolve the friction, solve the friction, make you feel better. The friction's still there. You're just trying to shove it down and tell yourself you shouldn't feel that way. And that's what creates for people this feeling of being stuck, right? They're like, something is off, but also I'm telling myself, shut up. Everything's fine. You're complaining. What are you talking about? You shouldn't even feel this way. And when you have that tug of war, right, like going inside of you, you can feel stuck. You can feel resigned and just kind of be like, okay, I guess this is life. I guess this is how people live. I guess this is what being an adult is. Or you can even feel trapped, right? And be like, oh God, like I can't get out of this. I have no choice. I just have to be here, right? So I just wanted to paint the picture of what high achiever misalignment looks like. And trust me, if you are feeling it or if you've ever felt it, you probably are nodding along being like, oh my God, how did she know? Is she following me around? Is she in my head? That is exactly what I've been feeling. So I want to talk today about how did you get here? Because you did not aim to get here. I guarantee in all of the strategizing and planning and achieving that you've done in your whole life, never once were you like, you know what I want? I want to achieve a lot of things, but like not feel that great about it. I want to feel unfulfilled. I want to feel dissatisfied. I want to feel daily friction, like constantly feel like something is off. Obviously, you were never aiming to be here. You were never aiming to feel this way. So how did you get here? How did execution diverge from your stated strategy in such a dramatic way? That's exactly what I'm going to tell you today. Before I tell you the 5 reasons why high achievers can end up in misaligned careers and lives, I just want to tell you this is really normal. Nothing's going wrong. You did not make a bunch of bad decisions. You are not like a chronic complainer that's like incapable of being happy. Nothing is going wrong here. This is really, really normal. This happens constantly to high achievers. It's an incredibly normal phenomenon. And once you understand the 5 reasons of why this happens, and I'm also going to tell you about a great tool that I love using with my clients that helps you resolve these 5 reasons and take your first steps towards living a really aligned and ambitious life, you are going to feel a million times better. Because you're going to be like, oh, I see the mechanical reasons why this happened. It's not personal. It's nothing to do with me. I see why, and I see what I'm supposed to do to get out of here. So let's go through the 5 reasons. Reason number 1, high achievers end up in misaligned careers and lives, is you are not solving for what you want. Chances are, if you're a disciplined, hardworking, highly accomplished high achiever, you probably think your wants are frivolous, self-indulgent, irresponsible. And if I told you, hey, you should like solve for what you want, you'd be like, that doesn't sound like a strategy for success, right? You might be like, I have bigger problems and goals to solve for, right? There's things that I have to do here, whether it's responsibilities you want to fulfill, goals you want to achieve, you want to make something yourself, be somebody, make a mark, be a success, all of those things. You might be like, yeah, I have to focus on that. I can't just like frivolously follow what I want to do. What I want to do is like take a bubble bath and like watch Netflix. We can't be prioritizing that. We have to prioritize success, responsibilities, and the things I want to do in this world, right? You also might, as a high achiever, have what I like to call marshmallow test thinking. You've probably heard of the marshmallow test, but I'll quickly recap it for anyone who doesn't know. This is a test done at the psychology department in Stanford with young children, I want to say kind of 5 to 7 years old. And they have them do this test where you give the child a marshmallow, one marshmallow, and then you tell them if you wait 15 minutes alone in the room, you will get 2 marshmallows, right? And they found that the kids that were able to wait for the second marshmallow, right? Basically, they're able to delay short-term kind of enjoyment or pleasure in order to get a long-term like benefit. They found that those kids like did better in school and like had better jobs and made more money and like all of these things, right? And it really like cemented this idea in like the popular culture of like, ooh, you should pass the marshmallow test, right? You should deny short-term joy because when you do that, you get long-term payoff, right? And so when you have marshmallow test thinking, I don't think that's bad, by the way, right? We'll talk more about that. But when you have marshmallow test thinking as a rule in your brain, right? You might be like, well, what I want is dangerous, right? I can't just like prioritize what I want. That's just eating the marshmallow immediately, right? That's self-indulgent, that's anti-success, and I care about success and I care about achievement. So I would never just prioritize what I want. I have to prioritize what I have to do to get to where I want to be, right? And so it can just feel like prioritizing your wants is just irresponsible towards your goals, irresponsible towards your responsibilities, irresponsible for your drive for achievement, right? But if you don't solve for what you want, your wants don't go away, right? You can keep shoving them aside and shoving them under the corner, under the rug as much as you want, right? But if you keep shoving them down, that's how you end up in a misaligned career and a life. They never went away. They probably just started shouting even louder and louder, and you never figured out how to incorporate them into your goals, into your responsibilities, into your drive for achievement. You just shoved them under the rug. So yeah, now you're misaligned because you never accounted for those variables. So the antidote to this is you have to take an honest, clear look at what you actually want, right? You have to incorporate your wants into your problem solving. And what I have found again and again, when I do this work with people and we take an honest, clear look at what they actually want, their wants are not frivolous. Their wants are not self-indulgent. Their wants are not irresponsible. Their wants are not just pure dopamine seeking, short-term thinking that like, if you just followed them, you'd never leave your house. You'd just be scrolling your phone and eating takeout for the rest of your life. That's not what your wants are, right? If you take an honest, clear look at your wants, what you are going to discover is they're valid and true and real. They represent you and who you are, and they are literally the compass that are pointing you towards the life and the career you actually want. So I'm going to talk more at the end about a great tool I love to use with clients to actually get this honest, clear picture of what you want. But for now, I'll just tell you, your wants are not scary. Your wants are not going to lead you in the wrong direction. Your wants are not frivolous or self-indulgent or irresponsible. If you take an honest, clear, objective look at what you actually want, what you are going to discover is they're good, they're true, they're valid, they're pointing you in the right direction, and you've got to start to incorporate those variables into your problem solving in order to actually to build and live that aligned life and career and get rid of that daily friction that feels like crap. So that's reason number one. Reason number two that high achievers end up in misaligned lives and careers is your wants have changed. Things have changed and your wants have changed. So let's say you didn't even fall prey to reason number one and you actually have a clear and honest picture of like what you want. The second phenomenon I see for people is like things change. Your own wants change, the world changes, you gain knowledge and experience about what it takes to live the life that you want or that you thought you wanted, right? This could look like you get to the next level in your career and you're like, oh, this is different than what I thought it would be. Like, I just didn't know that it would take this much time or that it would require this kind of problem solving or that would require this much time away from family. Like, I have gained new knowledge about what it takes to be at this level. A lot of times people also start having families that can really re-rack your priorities and your desires and what you want. And then of course, there's no shortage of many big changes in the world, right? Whether it's AI, whether it's geopolitical instability, whether it's all the things that people talk about at cocktail parties and say that they're super stressed about, right? Those things are also dramatically changing the job market and how your job works and what your workflows are and what your career prospects could be, right? So you change, your desires evolve, you gain more knowledge. And by the way, the world goes ahead and keeps on changing, right, as well. And so whatever vision that you might have painted for yourself as a 20-year-old, as a 25-year-old, as a 30-year-old, whatever previous vision of your wants that you might have painted, you might not have updated it, right? You might not have incorporated your latest knowledge into that picture, into that vision. And if you haven't updated your wants to align with your latest knowledge, your current reality, you're the latest snapshot of what your priorities are, right? If you've just been putting your head down and executing on an old vision that you never updated, yeah, that is going to lead to misalignment, right? Because you're like, that's great that I even had a picture of what I wanted and I'm moving towards it, but this thing is 10 years old or 5 years old or 2 years old. And I've actually learned a lot and gained a lot of knowledge. So I have to take the time to update this. And executing is very comfortable, right? It can be scary to pull yourself out of the execution and really step back and take a look and figure out how to update this thing. But it's so crucial because if you don't do that update, you're just going to keep running in a direction that's no longer 100% the direction you want to be going in. That's why you're feeling that friction. That's why you're feeling that misalignment. That's reason number two. Reason number three that high achievers end up in misaligned careers and lives is you're solving for what the people close to you want or value or admire, right? So I'm talking about your parents, your spouse, your friends, your family, your mentors, role models, right? These are people that you genuinely admire and respect, right? There's a name, there's a face. You might be able to imagine this is what this person would say to me, right? And because you admire them and respect them and want to be like them, right? Your brain will automatically prioritize their wants and their values above yours, right? Your brain will tend to be like, well, they value working all the time, or they value making a certain amount of money, or they value working in a certain industry or a certain function or whatever it might be, right? They value that. And your brain will like reflexively shut down any any disagreement that you might have with that, right? It'll be so quick to just be like, no, but like, if I don't want to work that hard, that's just me being lazy. If I don't want to make that amount of money, that's just me like not being sufficiently ambitious. Like if I don't want to parent the way that they parent, that's actually me being a bad parent, right? Because you care about these people and value their opinion and have so much respect for them, right? You will end up inadvertently absorbing their values, their wants, their priorities, and your brain will so quickly shut you down and not even let you articulate, but here's what I want. Here's where my priorities, my values, my desires might diverge, right? Your brain will shut that down with like a moral tone. It'll be like, no, I'm a bad person. I'm a bad person and I'm exhibiting lazy and it's self-indulgent and like bad qualities if I diverge, right, from what the people that I respect and admire, what they want and what they prioritize. So then you end up just solving for that instead of solving for what you actually want and prioritize. And of course, that is going to lead to a life that is misaligned, right? That's what will create that friction is you didn't get honest with yourself about like, yes, the people I respect and admire have these wants and these desires and these priorities and these values. Mine might diverge a little bit, maybe by 10%, maybe by 20%, maybe by 50%, right? And you're lacking neutral language and a neutral classification of what are all the different things that a person can value and want and desire and prioritize. And how do you kind of look at that very neutrally and say, that's okay. One person, my mentor might value this and I might value this, and both of them are okay. Right? But I can choose to value what I value and I don't have to take on everything that they do, or my spouse might, or my family might, or my parents might, or whatever it might be, right? But you are lacking neutral language and neutral classifications to be able to say, oh, it's not that I'm a bad person and they're a good person, or they're a good person and I'm a bad person, right? It's not this like lose-lose, like win, like share, small pie scenario where one person's right and one person's wrong. What I'm lacking is neutral language to be able to describe, oh, you value X and I value Y, and both of those are okay. Right? And we can reconcile the difference between those just even in your own head to give you the courage to diverge from the life path and values and priorities that the people that you admire might have, right? So that's reason number 3, that high achievers end up in misaligned careers and lives, is there's these people that are close to you that you really admire and respect. And there probably are some divergences in your values and desires and their values and desires. And your brain is just shutting them down and saying, nope, I have to do what they do. And because otherwise I'm just a bad person, right? And you're lacking that neutral language and neutral classification to actually negotiate and navigate the divergence between the values of the people you admire and your own true values yourself. So that's reason number 3. Reason number 4, it's a little bit different, is you are solving for what society admires and values and prioritizes, right? This is not a specific person, right? This is not a name and a face, and you can imagine what they would say. Oh, it's that mentor, it's my spouse, it's my parents. It's not a specific person that you're actually close to and admire and respect. This is society. This is people, right? This is just that mass that you kind of imagine is watching you and judging you. This is when you're like, but when I post that LinkedIn update, what will people say? When I go to reunion, what will people say? If I make this move instead of that move, what will people say, right? It's people. It's not a person. It's just this like general sense of your standing, your status. Like, are you ahead? Are you behind? Are you off track? But it's not relative to like a person you admire and care about. It's just like the race, people, society, your peer group, your class, just people. Right? It's a little different than the people that you actually really admire. And again, this also makes a ton of sense. This is basically peer pressure, right? This is what like the DARE police officers warned you about when you were in middle school. And at least in my experience, no one peer pressured me to try drugs or alcohol, but everyone is peer pressuring me to like do what I'm supposed to do in terms of like success, right? And like living what is considered to be a good life, like in society. I was like, I should have been warned about this kind of, about the peer pressure of LinkedIn. I did not need to be warned about the peer pressure of like trying weed. That was never a problem, but the peer pressure of LinkedIn is a very real problem, right? So this makes a ton of sense. All of us as humans are unbelievably susceptible to peer pressure and to just like kind of what's my standing in the group? What's everyone else doing? Am I ahead? Am I behind? Am I impressive? Right? And by the way, you probably are on a path and have a job that is like coveted, right? That probably has a lot of prestige and status. You probably are in a position, you probably have brands on your resume, degrees on your resume that people admire, right? And you're like, oh, I actually have good standing, right? And that can actually introduce a little bit of loss aversion, right? Where it feels more painful to lose good standing in society, than if you never had it at all, then you may not feel the pressure to maintain it. Right. And so this is the 4th reason that high achievers end up in these misaligned careers and lives, is you literally just feel peer pressure of like, I feel the crowd all going in a certain direction. And by the way, I might actually be doing well in the direction that I'm supposed to be going. And so it's all the more painful to deviate from that, because I'm going to feel a loss of status. I'm going to feel a loss of prestige, and losing that is sometimes even more painful than like never having it in the first place. So the antidote to this is to really understand that society is not a monolith, and to like viscerally grasp and look at the data and see people genuinely want different things. Yes, there's like societal standards, but like everybody deviates from those standards. No one is perfectly average in their desires, in their values, in what they want. And to really deeply understand, like society is not a monolith. Everybody wants different things and everybody is solving for different things. And so nobody's right. Nobody's wrong. The people that are solving for like this cluster of variables are going to live their life a certain way. And the people that are solving for this other cluster of variables are going to live their life in a different way. But nothing's going wrong here. No one's right. No one's wrong. No one's doing it. No one's ahead. No one's behind. No one's impressive or stupid, right? Genuinely, people are just solving for different things. That's all that's happening. And trust me, the tool I'm going to talk to you about at the end is going to help you do all of these things. But that's the antidote. And then the last reason number 5, that high achievers end up in misaligned careers and misaligned lives is your brain shuts you down before you even start trying to close the gap between the life you have and the life you want, right? So let's say you've actually like gotten around or avoided all the 4 other reasons. Like let's say you actually are clear on what you want. You've taken a clear and honest look at it. You've updated what you want according to your latest desires, latest knowledge, latest state of the world. You have negotiated the fact that what you want and value might be a little bit different than your family, your peers, your mentors, and the people you respect. You've wrapped your head around the concept of peer pressure. You're not being driven by that anymore. You've gotten comfortable with like, okay, I can want different things than what society tells me to want, and I can still have a good life. This is the last reason. This is the 5th reason that people still end up being, high achievers still end up having misaligned careers and lives, is that you've done all of the wanting work. You look at the gap between the life you have and the life you want, and your brain doesn't let you even get started trying to close that gap. Instead, your brain is like, it's not possible. That's unrealistic. I can't possibly have all the things at the same time. I don't want to waste my time, right? That feels like it's going to be a lot of effort. And like, I don't really think there's a high chance of success here. So let me not like waste my time on this low ROI activity. There's no answer here. It's not possible to actually have all these things at the same time. Be realistic, be practical, right? So let me not even get started. And the antidote to this, and I say this to my clients all the time, right? If you're going to tell me it's not possible to have everything that you want, I'm always going to say, show me the real data from the real world that shows that, right? That is the only thing I ever want to see. What I don't want to see is your brain giving you the reasons. I don't want to hear the fears from your brain. I don't want to hear the so-called logic from your brain telling you why that's not possible. That to me is not valid data, right? The only thing I ever want to hear is tell me how you tried. Tell me what you tried. Tell me the number of reps and experiments and hypotheses that you tested. If you have real world data showing me that it's not possible, great. Let's dig into it. Let's analyze it. And let's figure out what we're doing next. Let's figure out the next experiment that we're going to run. Let's figure out what we're going to do about it. But if all you have is the chatter from your brain, right? If the only thing you can give me is no, but like logic says it's not possible, my thinking says it's not possible. I just like thought about it for 3 seconds or 5 seconds or 30 minutes or 3 years. I just thought really, really hard. And I'm here to tell you, based on my logical analysis in my brain, it's not possible, right? I don't want to hear it. I want you to go out there and try, because your brain telling you it's not possible before you even get started is just shutting you down, not even letting you try, not even letting you gather the data. It's just fear. Fear masquerading as logic, fear masquerading as efficiency, fear masquerading as realism, but it's fear. Because if you didn't even try and you didn't even gather the data, then all that is your brain saying, ooh, I don't even want to like dip a toe in the pool. I'd rather make a bunch of arguments for why it's not even worth trying, right? And that is reason number 5 that high achievers end up in misaligned careers and misaligned lives, is your brain shuts you down with fear before you even start to try to close the gaps. Okay, those are the 5 reasons. And as I'm kind of saying them, I want you to think about which of those 5 reasons apply to you. Might be all of them, might just be some of them. But as you think about that friction, that misalignment, that persistent sense of like dissatisfaction, something's not quite right, something is not quite working here, right? And as I outline, hey, these are the 5 reasons why that might be happening, which one of those really resonate with you? And by the way, this is really normal. If all of them, if multiple of them, right, if just some of them really resonate with you, this is really freaking normal to be in this position. It is surprisingly hard to live an aligned life. It is surprisingly hard to have aligned ambition. It reminds me of a great Ralph Waldo Emerson quote where he said, to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. So I just want to tell you, it's really normal to find yourself in a place of misalignment because it is shockingly hard to fight against your own like deprioritization of your wants and your like lack of desire to update those wants like with your latest knowledge, and the pressure of both the people that are close to you and society in general, and to push against the fear of trying and possibly failing, right? It is so hard to push against all of those things and really try with sincerity and with courage and bravery to be like, I'm gonna try. I'm really freaking going to try to live the life and the career that I actually want, right? It is hard. So it's really normal if you find yourself in this place. So here's what you actually have to do, right? If you're feeling yourself in this place of misalignment, if one or more of these 5 reasons are resonating with you and you're like, I don't really want to do this anymore. I would like to live a life that feels aligned with what I actually want, a life that looks good and feels good. There's 3 things you have to do, right? Step number 1, you have to get crystal clear on what you actually want. You have to consider that to be a key problem-solving variable, not just something frivolous or irresponsible or self-indulgent. You have to actually value and prioritize what you want, and you have to get crystal clear on what those wants actually are in the current moment using your latest knowledge and latest desires. That's step number 1. Get super clear on what you actually want. Step number 2, own what you want without shame, without apology, without caveats, right? Despite what your friends and family as mentors might want and what they might value and prioritize, despite what society says that you're supposed to do, you have to own your wants, your desires, your priorities 100% without shame and without apology. So if you don't do that, you're going to keep like subtly straying away from them, right? And then you'll just end up back in misalignment again. And then step number 3 to living in a life of aligned ambition is you have to close the gaps. Close the gaps between the life you have and the life you want with courage and with strategy, right? So don't let your brain shut you down and not even try, right? And say it's not possible before you even start. And you have to apply real strategy, like real problem solving to say, okay, how might we do this, right? Like, how do I apply the creative problem solving, the strategic thinking I use all the time at work and at home and with my family? I've got to apply it here too. I'm a really good problem solver. I love a good problem. I love a good puzzle. I love a good nut to crack. So let's treat this like a puzzle, treat this like a problem, and figure out how to solve it, right? So as I talk about living a life of aligned ambition, right? And like clearing up this misalignment, resolving this misalignment, walking through these 3 steps, sometimes as I'm talking to clients, I feel like I'm standing on the other side of a river, right? Like imagine like this rushing river that is like, so it's got all these like whitewater rapids and it looks really chaotic and it looks really dangerous. And I feel like I'm standing on the other side of that river and I'm like, hey, come on over here. Like life is good. Life is good on the other side of this river. And like, hey, that river, it's not as scary to cross as you think. There's a great bridge right there. It's so strong and it's so stable, right? And I feel like my clients on the other side are like hesitating. They're like, oh, I don't know, but like, oh, like life is good here and that river looks really scary. And like, are you sure life is good on the other side? And I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, life is so freaking good on the other side. It's a million times better. And I promise, I know that river looks really scary, but the bridge that you're going to use to cross it is so sturdy and it's so simple and you can do it, right? So here's what I want to tell you right now. If you're like hearing me talk about all these things and you're like, that all sounds good, but honestly, I'm scared, right? Like the rushing river in between like me and the vision that you just painted seems pretty scary. I'm here to tell you, you don't have to take a leap of faith, right? You don't have to just jump blindly into the river and hope that everything works itself out. I'm going to give you a really simple, easy first step, right? I'm going to point you to that bridge and be like, the first step is to take that first step on the bridge. And I promise you, it's going to carry you all the way through. And that first step is to get really clear on what you want. It is to get a clear picture of what you value, what you prioritize, what you desire, free of social pressure, free of familial pressure, in familial pressure, in rank order priority, to get that clarity of this is it. This is what I actually want. This is the true snapshot of me, my desires, my values, and my priorities. That is step 1. And that is, if you are able to do that, it is going to give you so much clarity, so much relief, so much language to use with other people, so much neutrality around like, it's okay that I want these things. And that is a thing I can offer you today, to be able to get that clear snapshot of what the heck you actually want. And here's how we're going to do that. There's a tool that I've been using with clients to give them this exact super clear snapshot of their wants and of their desires. And I would love to use it with you as well. This is the tool that I've been talking about. This is the tool that can give you clarity, help you update it with your latest thinking, and give you that neutral language to be able to talk about it with the people that are close to you, to give you that knowledge of like, hey, everyone is different. Everyone's solving for different things. Nobody's a bad person here. And we can also talk about how do you close those gaps, right? This is the tool that I've been talking about that can resolve all 5 of these reasons. I would love to give it to you. It takes 20 minutes. It is super quick. And the results are so freaking powerful when we get together and talk through them and like what they mean for you and what you want to do about them, right? So I would love, love, love to use this tool with you. I think it is so freaking powerful. I mentioned this in my last podcast episode too. I am such an intellectual snob about tools that I use with my clients, right? They are a dime a dozen. There's a million frameworks and tools and assessments and everything out there. I am so freaking picky. I do not bring just anything to you guys, right? I use stuff on myself. I use stuff on my clients. I don't bring it to you unless I am really convinced that it's really freaking good. And this one is exactly that. So here's what I want you to do. Go to the link in the episode description, book your free career audit, right? With me. There's a booking link in the episode description, book it. And when you book it, put episode 497 into the booking notes, right? So when you book the call, there'll be a little form you can fill out. Just put episode 497. That's the episode number of this episode. Just put it in there. And that way I know you came from this episode and that you want to use this tool with me, that you want to get this super clear snapshot of what it is that you actually want. I will know that. And then I will email you with the next steps. I'll grant you access to the tool. I'll tell you what you need to do. I'll give you context that you need, and then we'll get on a call together and we'll talk about it, right? So do that right now. I am so excited to use this with you, and you're going to get so much clarity and relief and precision after using this. So book your free career audit, put episode 497 in the booking notes, and I will email you with the next step, right? No leap of faith. Just, this is like the simplest first step that you can possibly take. There's like, this is not hard. This is not complicated, right? It's just the teeniest, tiniest thing that you can do. And if you take this first step, it is you taking a first step towards that life of aligned ambition, the life that looks good on the outside and feels good on the inside, that gives you external success and internal fulfillment without trading off on either one, right? This is the life where you don't feel that slow grinding friction anymore. You don't feel those like overwhelming Sunday scaries. You're not just getting through week after week, month after month. You're not dreading the end of a vacation, the end of the break, right? But instead you're back in alignment. And I know you have felt aligned before. You have had that feeling of like, I know exactly what I'm going after. I'm super clear. I'm having a great time going after it. And I'm really living, like I'm firing on all cylinders and I'm having so much fun doing this. I feel lucky to be living this life. I feel lucky to be doing this work. I feel lucky to have everything that I have. I know you felt that way before, and we're going to get you back there. And the first step to take, book your free call with me, put episode 497 in the booking notes. When you book it, I will send you this 20-minute tool, and then we are going to have the most freaking powerful conversation of your life, where you're going to be like, damn, now I know. Now I know exactly what I want. It is in black and white staring at me, and I have the compass. I have the compass to be able to get there, and then we'll talk about how are you actually going to close the gaps. All right, I cannot wait to talk to you. Book your call, put episode 497 in the notes, and then let's have the most powerful conversation of your life. I can't wait. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Aligned Ambition podcast. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and share this podcast with anyone you know that you think could use it. If you'd like to explore working together in a one-on-one coaching engagement with me, book a free consult call at poojavcoaching.com/contact. You can grab that link in the episode description. And if you have any questions, thoughts, or topics you want me to cover in this podcast, shoot me an email at pooja@poojavcoaching.com. You can grab that in the episode description too. Talk to you soon.